This is WWE superstar Drew McIntyre, and you're listening to the WWE Podcast.
The champ is
the one that everybody wants, me.
It's going to WrestleMania. Claymore! Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass.
This is my iron. You're going to acknowledge me.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Mailbag. It is Thursday, December 4th, 2025. I'm doing it a day early today because I'll be out of town tomorrow, so I want to get this in. But if you send your email or your voicemail, I will combine that on my weekend review show on Sunday. So don't feel like you missed out. If I'm not reading your email or I'm not responding to any voicemail you sent here tonight, that just means you get to hear it on Sunday. All right, so hope everyone had a great week. And we are heading into December here, deeper and deeper as we count down the days to John Cena's retirement, which is in 9 days. Unbelievably. It comes to us in 9 nights in Washington, D.C. at Saturday night's main event. And it's going to be fun. And it's going to be certainly an emotional night. From what I understand, John Cena he wants to go on first so that he can fulfill his promise of making sure that the focus is on the future, which I don't want that about that night. Like, that's your night. I mean, I know he made it this entire year about himself, which is so funny to say. I mean, that's another argument for another day about if John Cena, is a bit of a narcissist or not. I mean, it's not really what, of course, Saturday is about, but when you look back at it, like, you spent a whole year stringing this out and absorbing all the thank yous. And in a lot of ways it's deserved. He is one of the biggest stars of all time. But I really do wish on Saturday that he would go on last. I don't care about the future for one night. I mean, for us to one more time to say goodbye to John Cena for real when it comes to in-ring wrestling, not of course television, future documentaries, future WrestleMania appearances, which he will, as I've outlined many times, he will. But as far as an in-ring match, if that's it, then I certainly would like it to be the last match of the night. It'd be the lasting image. I mean, if a John Cena retirement match isn't the main event of a Saturday night main event, I mean, I don't know what you could put in that spot, right? But anyway, we'll get to all of that in the preview, build up to it next week. Big week next week. Huge week. I'm sure there's going to be specials and tributes and interviews. I mean, they're probably going crazy right now backstage with stuff we're not even seeing for future documentaries and everything else, and backstage reactions and all the like. So quite a special week next week if you're a wrestling fan for John Cena's retirement. If you'd like to join us over at Patreon and go ad-free, good week to do it. We'll have all of your reviews and reactions here, previews as well for Saturday night's main event over at patreon.com/WWE podcast. So today's the mailbag, though, which means we get to hear from you. We get to hear your thoughts, your reactions. And I have a sneaking suspicion that a good many of these may be my reaction that I had to CM Punk's dog dying, which I kind of had a feeling most would not share my affinity for just not crying my eyes out over it, not gloating in his pain, just simply not participating in the complete just shock and awe and just a lot of faux sadness, and a lot of people that have family pets that can relate, and I understand that, but the shock and outrage and just people actually telling me to kill myself. I'm not even joking. There's been a few of that, some of that on Twitter, which is quite amazing because I know what kind of person I've tapped into, the type of people that are sending me this kind of stuff. And I mean, they just fit the bill for what I thought I'd get. And it's been everything and more. It's devolved into other topics because it has to, because the reasoning that I feel the way I feel goes deeper. And I even got into a little bit of a spat with a somewhat well-known streamer, Wheezy. I'm sure you guys know her, the blonde, right? Who, I don't really agree with a lot of her opinions. I think, to be honest, and this isn't just because like we had a little spat on X. I'm not a child, but in general, I think that she has been successful, no doubt about it. And I wish her success. I do, but I think a lot of her success is part to her, her consistency with what she's done. She's a streamer. She started off on Twitch, I think. She has quite a following, obviously more than here. So this isn't me trying to grab attention. I'm actually throwing her flowers for doing what she's doing. She made partner on Twitch, and she's again quite a following. But I think some of that success has to do with the fact that she's a blonde girl in a predominantly male space where you have a lot of men. It just kind of fits, if you know what I mean. While she'll claim that it's such a tough space to be a woman, it's like, actually, you understand the irony of what you're claiming here. You are actually in part as successful as you are because you're a blonde, fairly attractive woman in a male space, yet you're claiming to be some kind of oppressed victim in the space. And the irony, of course, is lost. But it didn't go well with a lot of people of my claims regarding you can't actually be a dog mom or dog dad. You just can't. You can be a dog. You can be an adopter. You can be a owner, right? You can be a sitter. You can't be a mom or a dad. Why? Because you can't change what mom and dad means. All right. Caregiver. You can be a caregiver, but people want to just appropriate actual motherhood or actual fatherhood with the ownership of a dog, right? The ownership of a dog. And it's not how this works. I know as much people, I care for them just as I would if I had children. It's like, well, that's the problem. You don't have children, number one. And that means that you don't actually understand what it means to care for a child. You think you do, but you don't because you don't have one. And it's a substitute for you clearly, having a hole in your life you need to fill that you're trying to appropriate motherhood or fatherhood into your life by using a dog or a cat or whatever. And you want to own a pet? Cool. Take care of it. Love it. That's fine. But to say it's on some kind of equal footing as taking care of a child, a human child, I mean, get the hell out of here. It's simply not. So it has been quite the interesting reaction. It's been as bad as I figured it would be regarding my opinion about it. And I just simply, and a lot of it actually is most of the comments I have to say, from Spotify to X, although X has been more vile as expected. That's the way it is with everything there. And in email, I'm sure I've got some of it from you guys, is, I really, I normally agree with you, man, but this one you're classless. Or some of them were like, you spent the first 30 minutes talking about a dead dog. Well, first of all, I don't apologize for that. I take absolutely nothing back. Zero. Did I go a little long in the tooth talking about a dead dog? Yeah. I mean, on paper, I did. But number one, I've never done that before. So it's not a pattern of me doing this. That's the first time ever in my 12 years doing this. And I wanted to explain myself thoroughly because it does kind of branch off into other things and other reasonings and other kind of subtopics about things in the world. And it did kind of drive me off course a little bit. And you know what there is, though? There's that skip button. There's that like skip ahead button that does exist. Like you skip ahead 30 seconds, 20 seconds. Or you take your finger, if you didn't know this, you take your finger on your phone and you scrub along the timeline. You know what that does? That moves you ahead in the show. So if you're just like, oh my God, okay, he's still talking about it. Oh, okay. So, and it takes a 30-minute potential droning on about a dog that you don't want to hear about to the wrestling content that started, I don't know, it really might have been 30 minutes in. It was a while, no doubt about it. So those are those two magical kind of like key tips, hacks on your iPhone or Android or whatever phone you're using. So there you go. It was a little bit more than normal, but I apologize. Zero. And I stand by everything I said. If people think, oh my God, he's probably upset about the backlash. No. In fact, when I get pushback, my instincts are to kind of dig in even deeper and triple down. So if the emails I get today, and I'm sure they're not going to be, some of them are nice. It's fine. I'm not going to sit here and again gloat at anyone's pain for if they lost a dog. It's not my objective, not my motive. But let's see. Let's see where things land here. Excuse me. All right. Before we get into that, before we get into the dog, I want to start with something non-dog related. Okay. Which, by the way, people are saying what are you talking about it? Well, no, it was trending on Twitter like number one for a long time. So I guess I'm not allowed to talk about things that are trending on the internet worldwide. I guess that's, according to them, I'm not allowed to, or at least I'm not allowed to have a specific opinion about something just simply because I don't care as much as they do and feel other people should about the passing of an animal that they've never met in their lives. Then I'm not allowed to say anything. See how the world works? Yeah, well, you're going to have a bit of you're going to have a problem with me here. If you think I'm going to apologize or cower, that's, you met the wrong person. You may want to find another show that is a little more squeamish or a little less squeamish, one that's a little more cuddly and easy going and everything. So that's your warning. If your tummy hurts easily, if you're easily offended, you've had your warning. Okay, there we go. This is from Darren. He was in attendance at Survivor Series in San Diego. Okay, Darren, cool. Darren says, so I guess I was in the bad crowd, huh? Well, no, I know I did say the crowd was not super loud at Survivor Series, but again, I attributed that, I think, in part to the open air concept. And this is not unique to San Diego. I mean, almost every time they have an open air stadium, it doesn't translate well because the noise gets lost. I mean, how much noise travels upward? It doesn't have a chance to reverberate down. And so you're not in this like kind of echo chamber of sorts. So you're going to lose some noise when you're in an open air space. That's just the way it goes. So again, you weren't a bad crowd. I rate you better than my own town. No, you weren't. You guys weren't bad. A little quiet at times. Yeah, but to me, that's kind of normal. Okay. Being there, it didn't seem as bad as everyone's saying is online, at least in my section, except for the Nikki Bella, Stephanie Vaquer. I do remember thinking to myself, why is it so quiet? But there were some really loud reactions. I'd say the top three were John Cena, Rhea Ripley, and Cody Rhodes. But now that I'm typing this, I'm thinking maybe there are more people excited just to see the wrestlers than the actual wrestling itself. Yeah, I think you're onto something there, Darren. A couple quick notes. Number one, the most merch being worn was for John Cena by a lot. But there was nothing I really loved there, so I didn't even buy anything. Really? And also, I'm sure that they didn't exactly have anything on sale there. I'm guessing that the words discount and sale were banned. And if you uttered those two words or anything resembling a discount or a sale, you were immediately handcuffed and sent to jail because I'm sure they didn't do that. It's tough. It's certainly tough buying merch at a live event unless you know that you're going to get scammed. Okay, the demographic. I didn't notice a ton of families there. Of course, there were kids with one parent, but not many big groups. So TKO's plan of not pricing for families seems to be working. Congratulations. Well, yes, I mean, that's true. It does seem to be working. But the question is, since they're pricing families out, does that really bring more non-families in to make up for the lost families that could have gone if they could have afforded it? My answer is probably no. But they did pretty well at that on the sales. I mean, it was 40-some thousand in that stadium. It looked fairly full. I don't know if it was considered a sellout. I don't think it was. But it looked pretty damn good. And the ticket sales rose fairly well towards the end of the tickets, the the ticket sale of the event. And that doesn't also surprise me. Even as long as I've been watching wrestling, PLEs, as they were then known, pay-per-views, were always priced higher, and they should be, because those are the bigger matches, the bigger events, the big blow-offs and starting of things and returns, and that's when you expect bigger things and bigger moments. You don't always get it, as we know that, but especially for a Survivor Series, one of the big four, you're in elite territory there. I mean, not only is it a televised event, it's a televised PLE, and not only is it all PLEs are televised, but not only is it a PLE, it's an Elite Four PLE. So you're in in the top four of their events of the year, you're going to get a premium price that does price out families. It's just the way it's going to be, and it seemingly has kind of been like that as long as I can remember watching wrestling. Okay, as for the matches, I thought the women's War Games match was decent. Not bad, not amazing. John Cena versus Dominic was definitely my favorite match, and seeing Liv return was cool. Stephanie Vicaire versus Nikki Bella was also decent, but I think this is the one where the crowd went dead and hurt the match. I would agree. Well, it hurt the match, but what did you guys have to cheer for? So I don't really blame you there. I bet if this was the exact same thing, but in France, people would feel different. That's a good point, Darren. And that kind of shows you the effect the crowd can have on the perception of the match at home. Even if the moves were the same, if the botches were the same, everything else was completely identical, from the commentary to the number of steps that both women took to the ring. If everything matched identically, the only difference was the crowd from Lyon, France, or wherever they go that's overseas. I guarantee you the perception, and even you and I would probably agree, that the perception of the match would probably be a little bit better because of the crowd reaction that just adds so much to a match. Even if a match is garbage, a crowd can lift it up and make it the perception to be not as bad. The crowd has a incredible role. So, good point. The men's War Games match I enjoyed until the end. I don't mind that the heel team won, but it just kind of felt like it ended abruptly. I think everyone, me included, didn't want me to believe that was the ending. We were just waiting for something else to happen. Me too, and I think everybody else was too. And for the premium price tag you paid, you probably should have gotten more there. And also when we hear Triple H say it's going to be epic, the biggest this, the biggest that, it's going to be monumental, epic, whatever he says now, whatever just like overhyped marketing terms he uses, we all need to just disregard his nonsense. Disregard it. Take your expectations down, because his definition of epic is clearly one that is skewed by marketing jargon, because he promoted Monday Night Raw as going to be epic, and it was anything but epic. And I don't think many people would be looking at Raw as kind of mediocre as they would have had Triple H not set the expectation that's going to be epic. Epic means massive monster returns, monster angles started, something like that. And we didn't get any of that. We got the Judgment Day being revived. I couldn't think of a lamer way to end Raw. No disrespect, to Liv Morgan. But overall, I had fun being there. Maybe if I flew out to San Diego and spent a couple $1,000s, I might have been disappointed. But luckily, you live about a 20-minute drive to Petco Park. And I just love going to events in person. I also bought my tickets during the pre-sale. They were about $150. And a few days before the event, I checked Ticketmaster, and the seats in the same section they were going for $500. Wow. Oh, Darren, you lucked out, my friend. You lucked out big time. See, I was thinking you were probably dropping at least over a G. And you lucked out. You live local, and you got pre-sale. Smart man. Oof. Well, I'm glad. See, that might have been worth the price of admission. I think that was. So even though it wasn't a an event that you're going to remember in infamy, it was still probably worth it, I would say. All right. Where are we going here? Good grief. Where do I go? I'm trying to avoid the dog thing for a minute. Let's talk to Kyle. Or Captain KC. He's writing in from West Yorkshire. All right, cool. Longtime listener, first time writing in. I felt Survivor Series was such a disappointment despite the amount of top-tier talent that was in War Games. I'm glad, however, that Liv is back. And what's your further open thoughts on the possibility of who could be in the black hoodie besides who online everyone's suggesting it is? I would like to think it's someone beyond Austin Theory, but it needs to make sense. It's a good question. It could be Joe Hendry, but Joe Hendry turning heel to attack Punk makes no sense. I mean, Austin Theory fits the bill. The longer, though, that they push this off, the higher their expectations going to be. And if it's Austin Theory, it's going to be a big letdown. But that's okay if it's a heel, though, because number one, it's about pushing younger talent. It always has been. The lifeblood of the company rests on young talent. Because that's how the company will survive in the future, is by continuously helping build young talent. And that would be a hell of a boost for Theory. Now, that, quote, theory, no pun intended, was also implemented on Austin Theory a few WrestleManias ago when he beat John Cena. And that actually marked the decline of his career since that moment. It did nothing for him at all by beating John Cena at WrestleMania. Nothing. Zero. So perhaps there's something more solid here. And this group of the Vision, it fits Austin Theory well because, again, it's an instantaneous boost right to the top of Monday Night Raw. You get to work with Braun Breaker, Bronson Reed, does need some work, but Braun Breaker is right now at an all-time high. You have Paul Heyman there. Austin Theory can cut a decent promo too. And then eventually when Seth comes back, what's he going to do? He could have someone to work with, but it would put him in the conversation immediately with Punk. And Austin Theory can work with anybody. So, yeah, I hate to cop out on this one, but who else even makes sense that's out there still, that's realistic? Who? I don't know. There is a picture of the masked man who looked directly at someone's camera in the audience. He has blue eyes. All right, I feel like I'm playing Clue here. But he did. He has blue eyes. Unless they change the person, which is my thought as well. That since Triple H and company, management, they can deny or pretend that they don't listen to fans online or pay attention. They do, of course they do. They all know that we know that it's Austin Theory. And when we are so confident of that, it's tempting, I'm sure, on their side to change who it's going to be. I'd be tempted to screw with fans and tell, so you don't know what you think you do. Well, no, we did. You just changed it because we found out. But they'll never admit that, of course. So I'm okay with that too, but I also don't want them to change it just to change it when Austin Theory was actually a better option. I'm all for predictability. I will stick by this not just with matches, but also with returns and reveals. If the person that you think is the right person to be in that position, even if the fans kind of know, then fine. Then let it be. It's better to do it that way than have a very short-term gain for a shocking turn when ultimately you're, oh, cool. Yeah, the fans didn't expect that. Oh, well, wait, now what? See, I don't know. Well, Austin Theory was supposed to be here. He was going to do this and this and this. So you really got to think long-term here. I would just stick with whoever's the best person. Okay, so after all the hype and how everything went so viral, why do you think they've stuck Joe Hendry to NXT rather than bump him straight to the main roster? I attended a house show in Leeds this year, and he made a surprise appearance and got one of the biggest pops of the night. Thanks for time to reading my email. Looking forward to your response, Kyle, or Captain KC from West Yorkshire. Well, Kyle, thank you. So, we've been tracking Joe Hendry for a couple of years now. I mean, we have a dedicated spy, an investigator, a researcher, under, I guess, all those hats, in DJ Kuzmo, who has given us the Joe Hendry report every week for a long time now. And he keeps popping in and out from the Rumble. Oh, okay, he's finally going to be here. WrestleMania, he's Randy Orton's opponent. Massive reaction. Okay, finally. And then he goes back down to TNA, and then he's like, becomes world champion, and he works with the talent down there, and he disappears for a while. Now he's with NXT. They are slow burning this one. I would like to think that the reason for this is they want to have a guy like Joe Hendry, who has some name value before even coming up, a plan. And that is so important. That is something that really lacks with a lot of talent brought up from NXT, is a plan. What are you going to do with them when they get here? Are you going to just do kind of a shock jock moment, but no follow-up? Or are you going to have them entrenched in some kind of real plot? I'm not talking automatically about the world title. He needs to be world champion within 6 months. No. I mean, if they want to go that road, it's risky, but you could. But I would go the road of mid-card championship. Maybe you could have him in a tag team, I guess, but Joe Hendry, I think, belongs as a single star. And I hope it's because they want to have the right plan for him at the right time. Instead of just throwing him on the roster, he's fun for a couple weeks, and then he disappears. And he's in a story that goes nowhere with a dead end. I would rather have them kind of have him pop in and out than have a start-stop type of run on the main roster. It is frustrating, though, because you would have figured by now for sure he'd be here. He's getting very, very close. All right. Let's go to Chris. Let's go to Chris. Let's see. Is there anything about a dog here? No. Okay. So Chris says, I'm a longtime listener and I also know I have one on Patreon in the Patreon box as well. We'll get to that as well next, I promise. And then I do see a dog email. So, all right. Chris says, I've stopped watching WWE. I'm a longtime listener, but I've stopped watching WWE in the past 6 months. I can't watch it anymore. It has terrible finishes, chronic kickouts after specials and finishers being used too many times. It's disgusting. Even the matches that are good, I find less than the average match on TNA Wrestling. This is my real input trade-off watching and covering WWE. It's garbage. The only good thing about it, is notoriety of wrestlers, but the substance of each character is usually holdovers from times when the times were better. The TNA stars actually have instant star power and wow factors. I enjoy everything about TNA. Sometimes the NXT stars and creative are responsible for some of their stories or match endings, which is actually noticeable. Seriously consider trading your efforts and spend time spent in WWE to TNA. I've watched it since Bound for Glory pay-per-view of theirs, and it's been scratching the wrestling itch the best it's ever been. Where am I at here? I have seen things from wrestlers in TNA that I've never seen in WWE. Unfortunately, they don't have a 100% consistent product weekly, as the wrestlers do actually get breaks and a life to themselves, which I respect. I've watched 2024 and 2023's Bound for Glory pay-per-views, and I happily would watch outdated wrestling compared to the current product of WWE. Again, TNA is fire and WWE is trash. Seriously, TNA should be adopted by all of your fans, and you should cover it. If Dom and Drew go to TNA, all the other stars can stay and keep the corporate puppet show alive while real stars and wrestling take place in TNA. And also Logan Paul could be allowed to join TNA because he's legit. Yeah, Logan Paul he's legit. Love or hate him. So, Chris, you're sparking my interest. I really am struggling to not say WWE is trash. It's hard to say a company as successful as they are in terms of just pure numbers and revenue and everything else and all the other markers of success that they have, or at least how they measure success. It's hard to say a company like that is trash. I think more accurately, you're saying their creative is trash. And I would even go a little bit broader than that, though. I would say that just today's presentation of how WWE perceives wrestling is trash, generally. And I guess I'm the old guy now. I'm the old timer that I used to hear about when I was 20, or rather 15 or 20, getting into wrestling, really starting to watch. Of course, I was spoiled by the Attitude Era, but now I'm that guy complaining, oh, it was so much better back in my day. I mean, well, today's product is so sanitized, and not in a way that's the PG stuff, although I mean, that's a small part of it. I do miss the blood, guts, gore in a way when it was necessary, not just for its own sake, but when, you know, you wanted someone to see someone get hit in the head with a chair and get busted open. And there was just more like kind of chaos, and it felt more unpredictable. Like things could just happen, and it didn't feel so structured. You know, today's product, even though Triple H is at the top here, it's TKO clearly doesn't respect the lineage of professional wrestling. They are giving you just entertainment. They're not going to pay homage to pro wrestling. And pro wrestling is the entertainment, but they have put that as like a fifth priority when it comes to everything else. You know, they just don't prioritize what made pro wrestling, or even understand what made pro wrestling so great and so popular, which is, this is really revolutionary, realistic stories that are easy to follow with deep characters. I mean, that's at its core. Is that all encompassing? No, but at a high level, that's what draws you to wrestling, and really draws you to any genre of entertainment, whether it's a TV show or a movie, or if you go to your local theater or whatever. That's what draws you to entertainment, because you want to get lost. You want to be able to live vicariously through the characters that you're watching. And I remember being able to do that. And today, I'm almost not sick anymore. I'm very close. So I'm trying to speak softly tonight. But today, they're so much more worried about celebrities being at their events and exposing the entire process of how they run the show and make a whole show about it, and then tell you about how they make the show during the show you're supposed to be invested in. They have the words heel and babyface and promo being used in promos. You have these very kind of structured, predictable spots in matches that don't look organic, and they look extremely pre-planned. And that's not to downplay the effort that these men and women put in. They are just working within the system that they have been told they have to work within. But it to me has the wrestling matches themselves, if that's what you're trying to sell me with TNA, and I'm not speaking against that. I really, you're making me think, Chris, for real. But maybe that's the part that is missing, and that's a big part of what's missing. It's just like the organic feel during matches. And it's like you said, the kickouts of finishes is a symptom of a bigger problem, and I hate it too. The TNA is just much more wrestling based. It's just wrestling. And there's it doesn't mean that TNA doesn't have its, it's kind of its moments of, it's not just all in ring, but the focus is there. A lot of the focus is there, and the matches are there. And a lot of times I find myself watching matches in WWE, and I'm feeling a number of things. Either, well, why do I care who wins or loses this? Was I told why I should care? Or I'm thinking, like, wow, this is, some of these spots look just so, lack of a better term, just so fake. I feel, and I've said this before, and this is not I want to be clear to the listeners, this is not a hit on you at all. You obviously everybody can watch whatever they want to when it comes to entertainment. Whatever you like. Okay. I mean, everybody's got their preferences. So this is not a slight on anyone listening. This is just me personally, how I feel with watching today's product. And it's an increasing feeling that I don't like, because when I feel this feeling, it makes me not want to watch it anymore. And I'm not saying that for shock value or try to throw I'm done with the show. No, but when I'm watching the show and I feel embarrassed to watch it, even though I'm watching it by myself, like I'm too old to watch this stuff. And because what they've done is they've made some of the moves and stories and promos so manufactured and so phony. And the spots during the match are so set up that nothing feels organic. And my brain is like, this is what you have to have a child's brain and imagination to get involved in what's going on here emotionally. And I'm trying to get emotionally involved. And I'm like, this is my, adult brain. I can't do that. I feel like I'm too old to try to do this. Does that make sense? Maybe this doesn't resonate with anybody, but it's a feeling of embarrassment, and I feel too old to watch this. Like I'm watching a child's show at times, not the whole show. But that's how I'm starting to feel with a lot of the wrestling in WWE now. And when I feel secondhand embarrassment sitting by myself. Now, there's some of you out there listening who don't like me are probably like, well, you've got a lot of reasons to feel embarrassed. Well, there's some content for you. I have to help you. But that's something I haven't felt with watching wrestling in a while, and it's becoming more and more frequent. So thank you, Chris. You know what? Maybe tonight before I go to bed, if I can, it's getting a little late here where I'm at. But what I'm going to try to do is watch some TNA. I promise you. I can't promise you I'm going to watch all of, excuse me, sorry guys, 2023 or 2024's Bound for Glory. But I'm going to start to just dip my toe in and see if I take the temperature, and I also, kind of get drawn in. So thank you, Chris. Hope you're doing well. All right. So before we get to the deceased dog, which I really don't know if it's a good or bad one, but the title is about deceased dog. So I can kind of deduce how that one's probably going to go. We will see. I do want to jump directly into Patreon, because we do have, I think it was a fairly long message that that I'll put on air here. I'm not sure if this person gave the name, so I will it's a patron, and I will just leave this person anonymous unless during the message they reveal the name. So it's just a wrestling fan. I'll leave it there, who is a fan of the show. So I appreciate it. So let's talk to this person. They said, "Hi there. What's the old radio saying? Long-time listener, first-time caller." Yes, that is. A lot of sports radio I listen to, a lot of actually New York sports, like The Fan, Mike Francesa, Michael Kay. I hear that a lot there. I'm guessing it's also used everywhere else. So that's you. Okay, cool. I've been listening for the past few years and finally joined Patreon a few months ago to skip the ads. So worth it. Well, there you go. See? You have testimony right here. It is worth it. I totally agree. I hate the ads too. If I'm listening, I listen to my own show sometimes to see if I'm annoying or things I can improve on, and how a pain in the ass the ads are. And they are a pain in the ass. I mean, they come up like every 10 minutes. The beginning of the show has some ads. I get it. But, man's got to eat. I mean, if I can monetize something that I do that I love, like, why won't I? Who wouldn't? Of course. And for a relatively modest fee, you can get rid of them for $3 a month. I mean, it's like nothing, right? So, all right. So you're finally writing in. So you said your son is in elementary school and he started being interested in wrestling. And while I love most other sports, I didn't know that much about WWE and its history. So I discovered your podcast, and it's been a great way for me to become a fast expert and stay on top of what's been going on. So thank you. Well, you're welcome. I also enjoy how you're very blunt with things going on in the industry and say, usually when you say, sure, I'll get complaints about this, you're about to say something I agree with. Well, I don't careful, anonymous wrestling fan here. Be careful when you say that, because there's been things as of late, certainly I've said that I'm sure you're like, ooh, well, that one, I don't know. And I expect that. I don't actually look for affirmation. I don't need it from people. I mean, I appreciate it. It's not that I'm saying stop it. I'm just saying a lot of people they live off of it. They need it to validate themselves. I don't. I actually thrive when people disagree, and it's fun. It becomes fun. I mean, of course, in today's culture, it turns very quickly into name calling, labeling, branding, whatever. We all know what we're talking about, because it's just everybody's so easily triggered into oblivion that having civilized discussion is a lost art. And having disagreements is something that actually can happen, but also still understanding where that person's coming from and just agreeing to disagree. Today's culture is, no, you got to force that person. If they don't believe what you believe on this particular issue at this time, you need to dehumanize them. I mean, that sounds like hyperbole. It's not. It's getting insane. So careful when you say I'll get complaints about this. When you hear me say that, there's going to be a time coming, if it hasn't already happened, where you're like, okay, Matt, you went a little too far there. It's going to happen. Okay, in 2023, my kid and I attended 4 WWE events, SmackDown, a Raw, and 2 house shows. And we got so excited for WrestleMania in 2024 because it was within a few hours' drive. But the pricing was so crazy in Philadelphia that we just attended the Access Superstore convention, where The Rock showed up 3 hours late to his appearance. Oh, God. Yeah, I heard about that. Yeah, Mr. Dwayne, I remember that. That must have been, if your kid's in elementary school, I mean, I've got a kid in elementary school right now too. I can imagine what 3 hours late does to you and your kid, especially your kid, who is probably like, what are we doing, Mom? Where are we going? You're trying to keep a kid entertained, and oh boy, God bless you. And then we watched the actual WrestleMania from home, and I promised him we would get to a house show or 2 instead that year. Of course, this is when TKO stopped doing house shows. In January 2025, with the Raw Netflix kickoff and the Cena retirement tour announced, we thought for sure we would be able to make it to a few events this year. And then Cena pretty much only showed up in Europe and to PLEs. Another disappointment for my kid. Another broken promise and more missed opportunities by TKO to build lifelong fans and sell more merch and give families a night out. As a career business person, I was beyond annoyed and irritated. It's just a stupid way to run a corporation. Yeah, I mean, not according to Mark Shapiro. I mean, they're not pricing for the singles like you and I would be if it was just, if we didn't have kids. They're pricing for the they're not pricing for the families. They are pricing for the singles, I should say. So the people like you and I who have kids that want to bring them, he doesn't give a damn. He's pricing for the people that'll just pay whatever to come, and seeing how far those ticket prices can go before people start to push back. But the idea that Cena, you're right. I mean, this is also, I can guarantee you, if Vince McMahon were still in charge, for all the criticism Vince gets, they wouldn't have gone overseas more than once or twice with John. And I felt like he spent months over there, and a lot of the appearances were over there. I know the European fans are like, yeah, and that's good for you guys. But at the same time, most of the appearances, the vast majority of appearances that John Cena had and made relationships with in person was in the United States, in North America. So it did stink. And I'm thinking the same thing for myself. I'm like, oh, SmackDown's coming to my town. Maybe he'll be there. And it obviously didn't happen. Now I will give you a little bit of hope. Because while John Cena says he's retiring, he is also going to be in the Hall of Fame. So, despite the fact that he's done wrestling, if you want, even after December 13th, to see John Cena in person, we just have to wait for that WrestleMania Hall of Fame induction, because he will for sure, he has to be in person for that induction. He'll be at the Hall of Fame the night before, which I have been to, and he'll be actually announced and presented at that particular WrestleMania. It could be as soon as this one in Vegas. They might decide to make John Cena the head of this year's Hall of Fame. If not, he's certainly going to be the class of 2027. So that is one more chance, if you want to grin and bear it, where it guarantees that you will see John Cena when he heads up the class, the Hall of Fame class. He's not going to have a match. He's probably not even going to cut a promo, at least at WrestleMania. During the Hall of Fame, you'll be able to hear him speak and talk about his career. But so don't lose hope. If you really want to make sure that you follow through on your promise, just pay attention to when John Cena is getting inducted into the Hall of Fame. And then you'll be able to, you got to grin and bear the price of the ticket to get there. And I understand there's a lot of cost. There is. I've been to WrestleManias. It's not a fun time for your wallet. Your wallet gets light quick, but that's at least a guarantee of at least, if you want to make good on that promise and you're dead set on it, even beyond December 13th, you can. All right, let's continue. But as a parent who's a pushover from making my kid happy and making memories while we can, I did end up buying tickets to SummerSlam at the last minute, and we went on night one in person, and it was an awesome experience. My kid really wanted to see John Cena in person, but the match card for night two of SummerSlam was so much weaker that I convinced him we should have more fun on night one, and I was right. However, I also did recently buy us tickets for Cena's last match in DC. Wait a minute. I should have read ahead. My whole explanation about the Hall of Fame, you're probably sitting here saying, hey, read the rest of the email. I didn't go that far. Yeah, you're an enabler. That's what you are. You are a flat out enabler. So you said you recently bought us tickets for Cena's last match in DC. Oh, God. I keep telling myself this will be the last WWE tickets we buy for a long, long time. I'm tired of giving TKO my money when they're not running the business properly. We went to an AEW event recently and felt like we got way more than our money's worth from that. And there were a lot of families there, more than I expected. We're also fortunate to have a good local independent wrestling circuit in our area, so we'll support that instead too. But despite the frustration, I've definitely fallen in love with the sport, and it's been awesome to be able to become a WWE expert with the help of my show. That's really, really cool. The recaps you and Amanda do really help me stay in the loop, and I love the mailbag episodes with the other longtime fans. Thank you, and keep up the good work. Well, I really do appreciate that. I'm not sure your name. That's great. Good stuff here. You don't get a feel-good email every. Most of the time when you hear stuff, kind of like your employer, it's like an abusive relationship. It's a representation of a bad relationship, one that's very abusive emotionally. When you only hear about bad stuff and you could do 400 things right, and then the one thing you do wrong, it's in my office, right? So I appreciate that. I appreciate it. It's good stuff. And I'll just label you the enabler. We'll just call you that because that's really cool though. I mean, hey, if you're going to DC to see John Cena's last match, then you don't probably give a damn about the Hall of Fame suggestion I just had, because you're going to be there for a historic moment, for a time that you get to say you were in person to see John Cena's last match. A lot of people revere him as the greatest of all time. I personally don't. Doesn't matter what I think though. It's about how you and your kid feel. So awesome. Okay. Let's go to our final email of the night. And again, if you send them in and you want to complain about my complaining about a dog, go ahead. Feel free. I'm sure there's more of those coming. Let's talk to Shane. This is the final email, guys. Shane says, hey, Matt, I got a we'll see. I got a bit of a kick out of your sarcastic wit regarding CM Punk's dog. I'll make the message about Punk as well, so it is actually about wrestling as well. I appreciate that. Yes. I'm not the biggest Punk fan. I recently emailed about how lame Jey Uso is, and I'll give Punk that. At least he is relevant. If I see him on TV, I'm not going to turn it off. So despite not being his biggest fan, I can, to a degree, respect his star power. In saying that, as mentioned before, I'm a huge Orton fan and found it extremely annoying in 2023 when Orton returned from back surgery, fusion surgery at Survivor Series, only for it to be overshadowed by Punk's return. I mean, you've got a guy who lives and breathes WWE, never left, a guy who shat on it. I don't think I've ever read that word on air. Shat. Good stuff. Bailed and ran away. That pissed me off. I do feel Punk is a bit overrated. I do, however, think that he's good at what he does, and don't get me wrong. But the way people talk about him and how they chanted his name for years after he felt like it was more than a fad of actually wanting Punk there. Albeit, I think him being around is good for the product, but he isn't Mount Rushmore level. Okay, before we get to the dog, for the Shad thing is funny. The idea that Orton was overshadowed is true. Even Orton, if you saw some of the backstage stuff, Orton was, he was visibly annoyed, and I would be too. He was out for almost 2 years. Makes a spectacular entrance, looks like $4 million, better than when he left. It just looked like, he was restructured and he rebuilt, I should say. And then 10 minutes later, CM Punk comes out, and it's like people forgot about Randy. It's like, oh my God, CM Punk's back. It's not on CM Punk. That's not CM Punk's fault, That's on creative. That's their decision. I mean, I know CM Punk agreed to it, but why wouldn't he? He's in Chicago. You think CM Punk's going to turn down that money and that opportunity? Of course not. Nobody would. Nobody in the sound of my voice would turn down the money that he made that night for that return in their own hometown. Yes, Orton was kind of collateral damage, but it was WWE's creative decision, not CM Punk's. Okay. Here we go. More importantly about the dog. We actually lost our family dog last week. I'll point out, no offense taken to anything you said. Well, okay. So that's a good start. Good start. I mean, I do. I'm sorry to hear about your dog. I'm sorry that, again, family dogs, I understand it. I'm not downplaying the pain people feel for their family dogs when they lose them. That's not my point. I'm not a psycho or what do you call it? Sociopath, when they have just no feeling. They have like no empathy or whatever. No, I'm not that. I don't personally feel that way, but I can empathize and understand why people do. That's the distinction. But I do expect a full vignette on Raw this week and a sob story about my dog. In all seriousness, he was a part of our family, and I do believe dogs have their place in a family. Even dating back years and years for hunting in early humans, it's mateship. Dogs have become domesticated because of it, and they do see us as their pack. At the same time, though, I'm a father of 2 young boys, and it's apples and oranges. I find it laughable when people compare them to actual children. I'll stop there. So I like that. I mean, yeah, you can bond with a dog, not in the way that you can bond with a person. Dogs can't speak. They're considerably less intelligent than people. They have, a very limited reasoning, that kind of thing. I mean, humans are just superior in almost every way, almost. And that's just a fact. But that doesn't mean that dogs should be treated poorly. Animals should not be treated poorly. It's just, I think I'm trying to clarify my position. And I like how you're talking about that. Dogs have become domesticated, and they have. But as long as humans have been around and dogs have been, a part of the mix, they have helped in hunting and everything else. So yes, and protection as well. And dogs, I understand why many people bring dogs into their family as part of it. I get that. Absolutely. I just personally don't have an affinity or a drive for that, if that makes sense. That's all. It'd be different if I was sitting here and be like, I don't understand why people are so attached, and it's weird. Dogs should be, banished and beaten and all that. That's a little bit different of a message. It's not what I was saying, even though many people heard that in their minds. That's what they heard. Now I will say that certain breeds of dog should not be allowed in neighborhoods. And you may be like, what do you mean? Okay. Now this is another topic. This is the last thing I promise that I'll say. And then we'll get to your closing comments about the dog and wrap the whole show up. I promise. This is not going to be a 30-minute tirade. But when it comes to pit bulls, there is just no disputing the fact that pit bulls are an overwhelming culprit when it comes to mauling young children or adults or other dogs. It's just fact. It's I think it's 65% of all dog attacks or maulings of people are pit bull. Pit bulls are innately more aggressive. And people may say, well, not mine. Mine's cute. Okay, first of all, if you're just getting a dog because it's cute, that's an irresponsible dog ownership problem. You can't just because it's cute is not a reason. And if you think your dog would never do that, well, what do you think all of the other families that own pit bulls thought of their pit bulls, that they wouldn't do that as well? But every year, multiple times a year, you'll hear on the news, your local news, or sometimes it makes national, about a dog that got out and attacked a young child or attacked and mauled another dog. It's indisputable that they are overwhelmingly more aggressive than almost any other breed. So to me, pit bulls I'm not saying we should hunt down and kill them, but they should not be allowed in neighborhoods. Just based on the data. All right. That's that one I feel strongly about. Just because, how many more people or dogs are supposed to die because people are bringing pit bulls, these wild animals, into their backyards, and they'll never. Mine wouldn't. Mine is mine's really friendly. Yeah, sorry. Keep your goddamn pit bull at home. I don't want to see it. Pit bulls to me are just like, I don't trust them. I don't trust them. And you shouldn't either. If you have a pit bull, just keep it away from your, of course, I can't tell everyone what to do. I would be cautious with your dog around, especially a pit bull around. If you have young kids, you got to watch them. You just do. Even if that dog has been around for months or years, what if it's that one thing that triggers them? Next thing you know, you got a tragedy on your hands. It happens every year to the people that would say the same thing that you would probably say if you own a pit bull. That wouldn't happen to me. Not my dog. Yeah. So, okay. Last part about the dog. And, Shane says, I think it's something as a parent, which CM Punk clearly isn't. You only understand then. You can't live without your children. You're biologically not meant to outlive them, and losing them would be the worst thing in the world. While losing our dog was sad, like, come on, as much as I love my dog, in complete honesty, I would have ran over my dog first. Oh God. I'm going to read this again. Sorry. I'll read this again, and I promise to keep it together. As much as I loved my dog, in complete honesty, I would have run over my dog numerous times if I had to choose between them or my child. I'd run over a dog happily if it meant my child was safe. I guess only a real parent would understand that. Like, yeah, I loved my dog, but love them like an owner loves a dog. I do think it's sad, but life goes on. I'm not going to have a mental breakdown over losing my dog, not like my sons. See, that's the perspective that people that have children have. It's a very normal, healthy perspective. You love the dog, you respect the dog, you take care of the dog, but you're the dog's owner. Now, being an owner doesn't mean that you treat it like crap, as you know. It means you take care of its needs, you love on it, whatever. But it pales in comparison to the sacrifice, the love, the joy, even, of course, and in the stress. And we all know that you have a young kid or kids, that comes with children. And I think only those that have children can see that perspective, where people who have dogs and call themselves dog moms or dog dads or whatever are trying to substitute for something that they don't have. It's sad. And it also is kind of disrespectful, I think, to actual parents of human beings. That obviously is a much bigger, deeper, more meaningful task than taking care of an animal. That's just a fact. Love it or hate it. I mean, I don't know if these people think if they say it enough times, it'll be true. Maybe that's the thing. It's like Beetlejuice. They have to say it 3 times or more, and then it'll just kind of bippity boppity boo itself. And what do you know? The dog is suddenly actually their child. But see, that's a healthy perspective. I know there's some people out there still are probably twisting and turning listening to this. I don't know what to tell you. If your message that you're taking from what I'm saying is, I think all dogs should die, and it's not the same as having a human child. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. I just don't. But okay, perhaps they should have an Eddie Guerrero like tribute for this dog, lining it up on stage, or Bray Wyatt like having the Fireflies. I think CM Punk is only milking it for sympathy, to be honest. But you don't have to have the same love for a dog as you do your kids. You're an absolute buffoon if you think that. Cheers. You're just too logical. P.S. CM Punk can't fight. Lost all his aura going to the UFC and losing to 2 nobodies. It's funny watching him act tough. Like I'd be more afraid of his misses, to be honest. Yeah, I've got a lot of. I mean, CM Punk, obviously legendary on the mic. Very good in the ring. I really do think he's very good in the ring. I still do. But everything outside of wrestling, he's just totally off base. I disagree with him on almost every take he's had outside of wrestling, like very consistently. Almost everything that he has said and done that I've seen outside of wrestling has just been the complete opposite of what I would do or believe or say. So the only thing that Phil Brooks and I have in common is the love of wrestling. That's kind of where it ends. Like everything else from top to bottom, he can keep it. From all of his beliefs and values and all the rest of the garbage he propagates. No. But yeah, that they're going to actually do some kind of tribute. USA Network, even on X, put out something about the dog. It's getting ridiculous. He's putting out he's sitting there with the dog and pushing it on a swing. You see that one? I think CM Punk actually has a video or a picture of him pushing the dog on the swing. That is biology and just your wiring calling to you that, hey, you should probably procreate here with actual human beings. So your brain latches on to something that innately that you should do, but it latches on to a dog to fill that hole that can never be filled with anything but a human child. Now, I'm not saying everybody must have children, but most of us have the innate drive. Most of us just have it's just built in. You don't even have to think about it. Not everybody, most of us do. And those that don't and try to supplant a dog for a human as if it has the same worth, it doesn't. Yeah, I mean, you're fooling yourself, and you're completely appropriating motherhood for what it actually is. In their minds, or the way that their logic plays out, is if I get a dog and I had no kids, I'd be a dog dad. If a woman walks into a shelter and gets a dog, suddenly they're a dog mom, right? Just automatically. That means like anyone can be a mom or dad just on a whim, right? You could just walk into a store and become a mom or a dad. Think about that. You can just anyone really at any time. You can purchase your way into being a mom or dad. Now you can be now this is where people get into semantics, right? Oh, well, it's about step parents, and look at the definition of mom and dad. Mom is short for mother, right? I am not the or mother or father. Dad is the the shortened term for father. Father figure is different, and mother figure is different than being the actual mother and father. Mom and dad, again, short for mother and father, are traditional roles for biological moms and dads. You can adopt. Yes, you can adopt, but you would never say that I'm a adoptee owner. I'm a child owner, right? But if you hear pet owner, you don't think twice. Most people aren't offended by that. Most people, even though they would like to be called dog mom or dog dad, if you just said pet owner, like, that's accurate, because it was very much an accepted term, and still is, when you go to a store or you go to a breeder and you get a dog or a cat or whatever animal, like you're the owner. You would not say the same thing about a child. You see the difference already in how you view the different species. So it's become a term that I think a lot of childless, I'm just going to call this what it is. It's a lot of childless people that are trying to fill a hole that they can't fill, and be in a role that they can't or aren't willing to be in. So they try to use the dog as a supplantation of a child. And again, that I understand the need for that, but you're just wrong. You're just wrong. So as far as being a mom or a dad, you're not. You may fill some of the tasks of what moms and dads do, caring for it, feeding it. But there's a lot more to feeding and caring for a child than there is a dog. The requirements and depth of things you need to do are quite different. So it cheapens what mom and dad means when people say that. And it also they're trying to be part of a category that they can't be in. You're not, it's like being in a club and you're not invited, and you're not. All right. So very good. Very good. If you want to see some of the really, really tough stuff on X, no, it's not tough, but the more vile stuff, boy, oh boy, check out my X feed. It's pretty revealing. Pretty revealing. It's not all about wrestling, obviously. So if you go there and you're like, oh, I don't want to follow this, it's not all about wrestling. Well, yeah, I warned you. So it's on you. It's on you. But all right, that's enough for me. I appreciate all of the emails. Keep them coming. As I said, if you send it after this show dropped, I will make an effort to read it on Sunday with the weekend review, kind of a combo episode that I'll do. So thank you, everybody. If you want to go ad free, as the earlier patron said, that is going to remain anonymous. It was, quote, so worth it. I believe that's what she said. So check us out, patreon.com/WWE podcast. You can also, as I said, follow us on Apple Podcasts. Click that subscribe button there. Go to Spotify, click that subscribe button there. A lot of ways to go ad free if you're just so sick of the ads. You're growing. You want to throw your phone every time you see. You're like, oh, here comes an ad. I can feel it. He paused. Here comes an ad. Well, you're probably right. So I'll end there. Thanks, everybody. As I said, I'm out of town tomorrow. I'll be back on Sunday. Yeah, I'll be back on Sunday, but I'll try to throw a retro show in between. And we have a SmackDown review, not by Amanda. Amanda has a couple of weeks off, so we have a fill-in for SmackDown coming to you Saturday morning. So thank you, everybody, and we'll talk soon.
Thanks for listening to the WWE Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast app so you don't miss a show, or head to WWEpodcast.com. And for all of these shows ad-free, head over to patreon.com/WWE Podcast. Until then, we'll see you next time.